Saturday, CBS Sports observes the 20th anniversary of 9/11 as the Army, Navy, and Air Force college football teams are featured across CBS and CBS Sports Network. As Air Force squares off against Navy, we sat down to hear the story of the Bourne family. Mom, Dana, is a brigadier general in the Air Force. She met her husband, Tim, a Naval Academy graduate, on the first day of her Pentagon assignment in 1994. Their daughter, Hannah, graduated last year from the Air Force Academy, and daughter Heather is currently a midshipman at the Naval Academy. We asked them to share with us where they were on that infamous morning 20 years ago. And here's a glimpse of their story.
Hey, this is Dulles Approach Control. We're tracking a fast-moving primary heading towards the White House.
My sister, who was 3 years old at the time, and I was just over 4 months old, we were in the Pentagon Daycare Center during 9/11.
Aircraft is moving away.
Okay, moving away from the White House.
I got you.
In September of 2001, I was a squadron commander for the 11th Mission Support Squadron at Bolling Air Force Base across the river.
757, can you estimate its altitude?
Looks like he's at low altitude right now, sir.
It was just like a normal other day. It was just like any other normal day.
Where's Langley at? Where the fighters? North. I don't care how many windows you break. Foxy, scramble Langley.
This is Gopher 06. It looks like that aircraft crashed into the Pentagon, sir.
I had been playing with some of the other daycare center children. We had been in kind of like a dance class and playing with dance ribbons. And then the next thing I remember is being out in the hallway and being confused as to why we were leaving. That confusion just kind of shifted into sensory overload. There was a lot of emergency vehicles and the sirens going. There were choppers and jets overhead you could hear. And then just the sight of a groundswell of humanity coming out of the Pentagon. And then the smell was just acrid of burning jet fuel and smoke.
That day showed us that when we see the worst in humanity, it also brings out the best in humanity.
Some soldiers showed up at the Pentagon Daycare Center doors and immediately started loading the infants into cribs, and they carried those cribs for about half a mile to the river.
Full story of the Bourne family on CBS Sports this Saturday. Coverage begins from Annapolis at 10:30 a.m. on CBS Sports Network, where Army meets Western Kentucky, and we continue to tell remarkable stories of 9/11 on CBS starting at 2:30 before Navy football hosts Air Force. And it's amazing to think that it has been 20 years, but as the years pass, you continue to hear more and more of these stories about strength, about resilience, that we hold in our hearts, but also that are inspiring.
Yeah, I think about that moment, 2001, the WNBA Sparks, we had just championship, and we went to Disney World, which was so exciting. You know, that's where everybody goes after you win. And the morning, 9/11, we wake up and Disney World's closed and our flights are canceled because of 9/11. And all I could think about is trying to get back home to my family, to our loved ones, and not knowing the unknown of how do we do that, because we weren't sure what was going to happen next.
I had the same exact experience with Lisa, except I had been working Monday Night Football in Denver. Was the Giants that played. Obviously, we remember what they came home to when they flew home early that morning. And just wanting to get home to my baby. I wanted to get home as quickly as I could. Then, of course, the NFL season took a pause. I worked the following week when it came back, which was just surreal, between the travel and the security precautions. And of course, we remember that NFL season culminates with the Patriots, that iconic image of them running out the tunnel all together as a team, the Patriots, you know, the year of 9/11. But just another example of what we always talk about, how much sports brings people together, a unifying force. And that was really effective 20 years ago.
20 years ago, I was sitting in driver's ed when everything happened in Pennsylvania. And I think perspective is something that evolves over time with something like this, understanding the magnitude of it. It did not impact me as much, you know, as a 15-year-old. But getting older, going to school on Long Island and living in New York City and understanding that, hearing the stories, hearing from people who were directly or indirectly touched by this event, I just think the older I get as the years go by, it just becomes more and more of something that is heartbreaking and also such a story of resilience afterwards.
And can we just all just really quickly take a moment and thank those first responders,
Yes.
those people who were so instrumental in everything that they did in and around 9/11, the people who lost their lives. Never forget. And if you ever have a chance to go to the 9/11 memorial, it is so moving, so emotional to go there and experience it.
And I think, too, just being here in New York, here we are in the New York studios, myself living here in New York and continuing to hear those that were on the ground. And to your point, just our appreciation for everything that they had done to continue to bring this country together and get us to the point we're here. But the term never forget is something that you can't take lightly. It's something that we do want to remember each and every year and each and every day for those who have suffered through it. As we approach this anniversary, we remember the victims of 9/11, the first responders and their families, including a friend of our producer, Julie Carrick. Her classmate, Diora Bodley, was one of the passengers on Flight 93. We're keeping her mom, Debbie, and her sister, Muriel, in our thoughts.